What is going on, guys? So today I'm going to be talking about a topic that a lot of people always like to discuss, including myself. I am definitely no exception to that rule. I want to talk about how Kaido could possibly be defeated in Wano. I think it goes without saying, in one way or another, Kaido is going to be defeated in Wano. We're just not sure how it's going to happen. It would seem a little ridiculous to me if we both go to Whole Cake Island and not really have too much happen with Big Mom. She doesn't even really take any real damage besides Nami pulling some hacks, but that's just not the point at all. Then we go to Wano and we have Kaido and he doesn't die or lose or something. It just would be like, okay, are we gonna go see Shanks next and there's just gonna be a little scuffle and that's it, and then maybe the same thing with Blackbeard? No. I think that Kaido is almost certainly going to be defeated in Wano. So if you're able to make this assumption, it begs the question, how could this possibly happen? Kaido, in my opinion, has been built up to probably be the most powerful living character in the series. I mean, he literally has the title, the strongest creature among all living things. I don't really know what else there's to say. I mean, if there's some inanimate object that's more powerful than him, well, sure, okay, I guess, but I wouldn't really call that a character anyway. So he should pretty much be the most powerful character. So since I do think that Kaido is most likely currently the strongest living character, I have never been a fan of the idea that Luffy is going to 1v1 Kaido and just outright beat him. And I still don't necessarily think that's going to be the case, but I have been thinking about it recently, and I have thought of some things that could possibly make this a reality. It's very important to remember in One Piece that no fight is just extremely straightforward. It's not like in Seven Deadly Sins where we actually have power levels that each person has then we can just see, and I mean, it's not 100% accurate, but for the most part, if one person goes against another and one person's power levels is higher, then they're probably going to win the fight. Of course, again, there are exceptions to this rule. There is magic in this world, so you can kind of pull some shit, but it's not anywhere near the level it is in One Piece, where there are just counters and different strategies you can employ against different enemies all over the place. It's just totally crazy, and you can never really be sure who is going to win a fight 1v1. So while I do not think that Luffy is quite on the level of Emperor yet, I don't think that he should have just the same power levels per se as a Yonko. I think that he is most certainly getting there after having an extremely close battle with Katakuri, who was undoubtedly the strongest member of the Big Mom Pirates, with obviously the exception of Big Mom. So he's certainly getting there. If anything, it's really the next step up. I guess you could argue that maybe an Admiral would be between a top Yonko commander and a Yonko, but I could also see them just being equal to each other. So he's pretty much right there. So since he is right there, the only thing he can do next is actually defeat a Yonko. So, I mean, I don't really see how it could possibly be Kaido if it has to be any of them. I would think maybe Blackbeard or Big Mom would fall first, but you know, they're going to Wano and he is technically an emperor at the moment, so maybe it really is going to happen. And because of that, I have thought of two really big reasons that it's not completely impossible, some kind of counters that he might have against Kaido. So the first one I have is not nearly as exciting as the other in my opinion, but it's still worth mentioning. It kind of relies on a lot of assumptions, but anyway, so what if Kaido, as we've seen him, he's just this super large monster, completely jacked out of his mind. He just seems like extremely physically powerful. So maybe, you know, Oda had this whole idea where it's going to be a very simple example of shit we see in like early shonen and whatnot, of someone who's just a total brute. They have ridiculous physical strength, but they're not actually that fast. Okay, he's really slow moving. If he does make contact with you, you're probably dead, but he really is just not that fast. I mean, sure, he's probably faster than like 99% of people in the verse, but Luffy is one of the fastest people in the verse, like possibly top 10 at least. Something that was very unsettling for me in the Luffy vs Katakuri fight was that when Luffy used Snake Man, it really wasn't all that effective and we didn't get to see very many moves from it. We just get to hear that I guess it makes him significantly faster, but we didn't really get to see this actually be used against Katakuri. It never gave him any significant advantage, and he didn't pull out any like crazy ass moves we've never seen before. So with the idea of it being this super speed form and it just not really being that useful against Katakuri, I could see this being a way that Oda was like, okay, well, I don't want to pull Snake Man out of my ass as soon as Luffy actually comes up against Kaido, so let's have him use it against Katakuri. And Katakuri, honestly, in my opinion, being kind of a natural counter with having ridiculous amount of future sights, no matter how much you can just outpace someone with pure speed, if they can see 5 seconds into the future, I mean, like, how does that speed really help at all? I think that just made it really kind of useless against Katakuri, but it was important from a storytelling perspective to keep that in there so that when he does go up against Kaido, it wouldn't seem like an ass pull, and him having this massive speed advantage could actually be crazy if Kaido is in fact significantly slower than people around his level. So that's my first point. Maybe Luffy will pull out Snake Man against Kaido and it will give him a significant advantage because possibly Kaido is super slow and that is just a massive speed boost for Luffy. I don't know. It does rely on a lot of assumptions, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. I just thought it was totally worth mentioning. I really want to get into my main point, which is just like how in Luffy vs. Katakuri, Luffy was able to not just pretty much learn things about observation haki, but take it to an all new level while slightly learning how to use future sight. Along the same vein, what if Luffy was able to take this fight against Kaido, someone who I would imagine is very, very skilled in using Conqueror's Haki? I mean, technically it's not confirmed that he has it, but come on, if he doesn't have it, then I'll delete my channel. If Kaido does not have Conqueror's Haki, I will delete my channel. So with that being said, I could see him using some high-level Conqueror's Haki and Luffy being able to learn this from him being able to improve in his fight. We already know that he has possibly the most ridiculous endurance in the entire series, with possibly the exception of Zoro. If he was able to learn so much about observation haki and future sight from Katakuri, despite being pretty much completely outmatched the entire fight, he was able to improve so much. Imagine if he was to face a complete master of Conqueror's Haki like Kaido, and not just being the future Pirate King, but also being the one on the crew that's supposedly supposed to specialize in Conqueror's Haki. If he was able to make such tremendous strides in observation haki in such a short period of time, I can only imagine what he'd be capable of in Conqueror's Haki. I could seriously see him making some massive improvements to the point that it would actually be a liability for Kaido to use it. Now, a lot of you probably have not seen my Conqueror's Haki video where I explain a theory as to how I think it could work in the future, and if you haven't seen it, then you're probably like, okay, well, maybe he will improve his Conqueror's Haki, but how would that really help him in a fight against Kaido? It's not like he's going to be able to knock him out or something. If that was the case, then One Piece would be stupid, because what are we even watching here? It would just be silly. The people who have seen my video probably know where I'm going with this, but let me just quickly explain exactly how my theory works, and just in case you guys don't really know what I'm talking about, it's pretty simple. From what we saw in Dressrosa with Dofi versus Luffy using Conqueror's Haki against each other, assuming that Luffy's is probably stronger since, you know, he's the future Pirate King, like I said, he's supposed to specialize in Conqueror's Haki. Dofi can use it, but he is not really known for being especially good at it. We could think that maybe Luffy's is better. And when they clashed, right after that, there was this period of time where Dofi just seemed to not really be able to do anything. It was almost as if he was exhausted, even though he wasn't passed out. Long story short, I think that when somebody uses Conqueror's Haki, it fatigues whoever is in the radius or whoever they are targeting with it. And the reason that some people pass out is because since they are so much significantly weaker, they get fatigued to the point that they just straight up pass out, where other people might be less affected, if not really at all. So when Luffy was to use it against Dofi, Dofi is not going to pass out. I mean, he's a god. I mean, at the time, he was actually stronger than Luffy, not necessarily in terms of Conqueror's Haki, but in overall power, so he's not going to pass out, but I could see him totally have been getting fatigued by Luffy, and he was pretty much useless for like a solid minute until he kind of had a mental breakdown and regained his senses. So if this truly is how it works in a ridiculous long-term battle, possibly for like 24 hours or maybe even longer, I mean, Akainu and Aokiji apparently went at it for like 7 days, so if Luffy versus Kaido could be this like 3-day battle or something, I could see Luffy massively improving his Conqueror's Haki to the point that it's actually stronger than Kaido's, and he might be able to just wear him down through sheer willpower and endurance. If Kaido really is this massive brute who is just pure power and he'll one-shot Luffy if he hits him, but he's not quite as fast as Luffy, if Luffy is able to combine his Snake Man form for massive amounts of speed, as well as his observation haki, which now has some future sight, I mean, it's just off the charts from what we've seen in Luffy vs. Katakuri, I could see him really not being, you know, able to take too much damage from Kaido and just enduring and using Conqueror's haki as much as possible, wearing Kaido down. Maybe this would somehow, like, just wear down his armor or something? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I could totally see this happening, and I would really love it. I mean, I've been waiting for so much time now for Conqueror's haki to really be viable. I mean, I don't care what you say, you know, Luffy knocking out the 50,000 fishmen, it really was not that effective. Like, yeah, it's one of the most badass things in the entire series, but, like, in terms of a strategical perspective, what did that really do? Like, if you're able to be knocked out by Conqueror's haki in the first place, you're not really worth anything. If you're able to be knocked out by Conqueror's haki, then Nami could one-shot you. Usopp could one-shot you. It's really not that effective as far as we've seen up until this point. So I think we got a pretty long time until we actually do maybe see some kind of Luffy-Kaido encounter, but, you know, I'm praying for that day to come. I am so hyped. I cannot wait. I hope that something like this does happen, but for now, we'll just have to see. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to leave me a comment letting me know what you thought about this video, if you enjoyed it, if you think this is just a stupid idea, it doesn't make any sense, which of the two ideas you prefer, if you like Luffy using Snake Man more, if you like the idea of him maybe using Conqueror's haki, improving it, maybe having some like awakened Conqueror's haki, just like how Future Sight kind of is, something like that, or maybe just the combination of the two. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. With that all being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, an excellent weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon. And, go Browns, fuck Steelers.